Hi everyone, and welcome back to Fred Talks, a podcast where we talk all about the fashion industry and why it might be more important than you think, but less glamorous than it seems. In today's episode, I will be talking about what I learned working in fashion retail. To give you a little bit of a background, I work for a fast fashion retailer that's very popular. Before I started working, and to be fair, I guess still, it was my go-to shop. Not because I would necessarily agree with the whole fast fashion mentality, but simply because I liked the design the most, and it was the most affordable shop for me to go to because I was still a student up until quite recently, so I didn't have really a lot of money. I still don't, and to shop high-end brands or to shop more sustainable brands is expensive. And to be fair, I just realized, as I was saying, that I realized that even the expensive brands aren't very sustainable. They still operate like fast fashion brands, which everyone has been talking about recently, but that's a conversation for another day. So I just thought that it would be important to mention that I work for a fast fashion retailer because it's quite the base of this, I guess, story time that I'm about to tell you. However, there are a few things that I learned, and I'm saying learned, but these issues has been something that I knew about before, but it didn't fully hit me that they are the reality until I started working in retail. And the first one is quite cute. It's actually not problematic at all, and it's actually very positive. And that is that it's really you wearing the clothes and not the clothes wearing you. And what I mean by that is that, just so you know, we as the shop assistants have a uniform, but the managers are free to wear whatever they like. And I guess I was lucky enough that each of my managers have completely different style, and obviously because they work at the shop and they get a discount, they for majority of the time are dressed in at least one item that's from the store. And a lot of the times it would be a piece that I just saw hanging and I'd think that it's hideous and who would even want to wear it, who would look good at it. But the reality is that it might just look ugly because it's hanging on a hanger, which isn't a person, and it's not how it's meant to look. And I actually wrote an article about this in a conversation about Issey Miyake and his garments, that they're often called quote unquote ugly, but they're not meant to be hanging, they're meant to be moving. But it's also the case that I think everyone does subconsciously, that you find something unflattering or ugly because you know that it's not flattering, it wouldn't be flattering on you or on people you know. But if someone else wears it and someone else styles it the way that is natural for them, the garment itself, well, actually no, I was gonna say that the garment itself actually looks really nice, but it's not the garment that looks nice, it's the person that looks nice, it's the person that shines in the clothes that they're comfortable in. And it doesn't really matter if you see something and you think it's ugly or unflattering, no high quality, whatever, but when you see it on a person, the person looks good. And this is very sweet thing that I always kind of knew, and haven't been bothered by whether clothes looks really flattering in me for quite a while now. I don't know, I'm an adult, so for my adult life, because I am the type of a person who I don't really care if I look a bit uglier or if the color of what I'm wearing is not really flattering on me, as long as I like the color or as long as I like the cut or as long as I like the material or whatever. So yeah, it was just seeing different styles on so many different people really made me realize that really clothes isn't what shines, is the person, and the clothes is just an accessory to the personality, really. So yeah, seeing so many different personalities wearing different styles that I wouldn't even necessarily wear, or I definitely wouldn't look at it, but seeing so many of them and seeing them in real life and seeing that yes, this actually looks really good and the person looks really good, and it doesn't really matter what they're wearing, it matters what matters is who wears it and how they feel in it, really made me quite happy about fashion in general. And I think that this would be very helpful for anyone who might be struggling with their personal style or might want to wear something that might not be considered nice or might not be considered fashionable by the people around them, to see many different people wearing different things, but I can't really tell you, I think this was just my luck that I work in a store where there are such a range of styles, but honestly, this is not something where you can really, how would I say it? This is not something that I can recommend you doing because it's just a matter of luck. But I just wanted to mention this because I think it's important for everyone to realize that really clothes isn't wearing you wearing the clothes, and you should wear whatever feels comfortable for you and whatever you feel confident in. So yeah, this was the lovely start that I wanted to throw here. But what I truly realized, I would say realized, I knew about it, but it really hit me, is that us as humans, we really, really overproduce massively. We produce so much clothes and it's actually really disgusting. I think it would be quite nice to give you a little story time what happened to me. So when I started working in this shop, which as I said is my favorite brand to shop in, is that I personally, to be fair, to begin with, since I moved to UK, since I started going to uni and I had to start budgeting myself. I didn't have mum to do it for me. I sort of stopped liking shopping really because it made me realize how much we tend to shop unnecessarily things. And if I have to choose between, am I going to spend 30 quid on a week of groceries, on 2 weeks groceries, or on one jumper that I don't need, I'm gonna choose the food because you have to eat to survive. And also because I started learning about fashion more because I studied fashion media, for those who don't know, because I started looking into the issues of fashion and into sustainability issues that we have, because it was a topic that was really, I think it was a time when I was in uni, it was a time where this topic started to be really spoken about. So I sort of learned, and it was these two factors of me not having money and me having now the knowledge about the issues. I kind of really became focused on only buying stuff that I really want or I really need. But still, I obviously really like fashion. I like looking at the clothes, and I would still go and buy things sometimes when I had the money, buy things that I didn't actually need, or buy things that I just really loved at the moment, because I think that's an issue for a lot of people, that they buy clothes because they are trendy, or it's because it's something they really love at the moment, but they don't really think about whether they're gonna love it in 2, 3, 5 years. But yeah, even before I started working here, I was trying to be quite sustainable in how I shop. But when I started working there, I was suddenly surrounded by all the pretty clothes that I always liked, and I was surrounded by it for many times a day, for many days a week. And so for the first, I want to say maybe a week, I was walking around the store, and I would always have to pick up something, and I'm like, oh, I really want this. Oh, this is so beautiful. Oh, that's great. And by the end of the first week, I started to really want half of the store, which obviously I knew I wasn't going to buy, but I really wanted it. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much nice clothes and I really want all of them. But then as I progressed to work, and as I got to really spend multiple hours touching the garments and seeing how they work, seeing how they last, seeing if there is a little thread sticking out there, and this is probably gonna get clumpy when you wash it once, I slowly but surely started to realize that really the quality isn't worth me spending money on. And it's definitely not worth me spending so much money on, because I have also noticed the increase in the sales, in the prices. And obviously that is natural because, everything's getting more expensive. That's just how economics work. But I was really started to think that I don't think that at this point the quality is worth the prices. The prices are going up, but the quality is going down, because I obviously know the store and I know the quality of it because I've been shopping there for a couple of years. So I am quite a regular, well, not a regular customer, but regular if you say twice a year, but fair enough. In this sense, I am a regular customer. So I quite know the quality. And now when I'm there nearly every day, I really get to see how the clothes works and how the clothes stand the test of time. Not in a sense that obviously I don't wash it there, I don't wear it, I just hang it, I just touch it, I just fold it. But it's sort of a thing of when we go to a shop, and what I think tends to happen even more now that we've got online shopping and everyone for the majority of time shops online, we see something online. And then you usually order it and then you either keep it or you send it back. Or you see it online and then you go to a store, in the better case, you go to a store to have a look at it, to try it on, and then you either buy it or you don't. But you don't really see it often enough for you to even decide whether you actually desire this piece. Because I had it, and I know this will seem like I kind of jumped to a different topic, but I'll get to it. I had it before with several. I mean, actually, I can tell you right now with one specific jumper that I saw it and I absolutely loved the color and I loved the sort of cut because it was a bit of a turtleneck. Loved the color, loved the little turtleneck, and I was like, oh, I really, really would love this jumper. And I really wanted it for a week. And then it got sold out, actually, and I haven't seen it for another week or two. And I sort of forgot about it. And the thing is, I think that if I bought it, I would have probably loved it because I would see it every day. Because I would see it in my closet, obviously. But because I haven't seen it, I kind of forgot about it. And there's another jumper, that's not a jumper, it's a cardigan, and I don't need to wear, that I also really loved. And then I haven't seen it for a while because honestly I just wasn't in the section where it is. But I haven't seen it for a couple of weeks either. And now that I've seen it, but I still think about it. That's the thing. I still think about it, and I've seen it again, and I was like, you know what? I actually really want this one. And this is something that obviously people don't usually have, and they can't afford to have with normal clothing because you unless you buy it, you're not gonna see it every day. So you can't really think about whether you're gonna actually wear it. But I know a lot of people always say before you buy something, think about whether you will actually like it. And I would also say before, and this is something that I tell customers as well when they come in and they're like, oh, do you have the size of this? And I'm like, I'm sorry, we don't have this size, but we have, we have the size in a different color. If there's something you really want, I recommend you go to the store. Even if you see it online, go to the store, try it on, feel how it feels to you, if it's maybe itchy or if it's not itchy, if it's a little bit too tight or anything, if the cut just doesn't look like you would envision it. And then go back, don't buy it straight away, go back home and think about it. And maybe in a week or two, go back. And I know you're risking that it will sold out, but here's the thing. What I mainly realize is that we really, as I said, overproduce. There's so much clothes. And the issue isn't only in the fact that in the amount, but also in the amount of the very similar styles. Because yesterday, for example, I was holding 3 skirts that I kid you not looked the same. There was only on one of them, there was a teeny tiny difference that really does not make a whole lot of difference. And I know a lot of people say that, personal style and it's great that we've got variety. But there's variety and variety, okay? I think it's good to have a variety in the sense of here's one jumper and here you have it in 3 or 4 different colors. I think this is great because then people can, maybe someone really likes the design or maybe someone really likes the pattern but doesn't like the colors because they're too cold or cool or because they're too warm. And you can change if you've got variety in colors or shades, and I think that's a good variety. What I don't think is a good variety is that we have essentially one style in 3 different items, and the only difference might be the quality, because honestly, why do you need 3 same black skirts the only difference is that one is thicker material, ever so slightly thicker. The other one is ever so slightly thinner material, but it's still the same material. It's just the weight of the material that's a bit different, hence why one's thicker, one's thinner. But the material essentially is the same. And as I said, two of them are the exact same. One of them has slight different cut, but it's not something that you really need. Like, I'm very sure that if you like one, because to be fair, I do quite like the item, and if I like one, I like all of them. I wouldn't need to have all three of them, and I don't think anyone does. And I can't really decide whether this is a problem of the fashion industry or if it's the problem of the society, because I do understand that fashion brands create so much of so similar things. And also, if you have a store, I can see why they have so many very, very similar looking items, because they're strategically placed throughout the store. So whichever end you're going for, you are likely to see one and you're likely to buy one. It's also the same when if one of them is sold out, you can buy a different one, and it's probably not going to make a whole lot of difference, which connects to what I said before, that yes, if you don't buy the thing that you really like immediately, you're risking it being sold out, but then you either can buy a similar one or you can wait for it to restock. And I'm not telling you have to wait for so long that it's gonna get sold out, and eventually it's probably gonna get restocked. I had it before when I liked something, it got sold out and then it got restocked. And actually I had it with a jumper many years ago. I think it's going to be like 7 years. I still have it and I still love it. And I was happy to wait for it. So this is the moral of the story in this sense. It's better to wait and then get it, or it's better to wait, make sure that you actually like the color, the style, whatever, then buy something that's similar. But back to the overproducing, I see how it's convenient for the brands to have many similar looking items, because as I said, you are more likely that everyone will want to buy it. And in this specific store that I work at, that I don't want to name, obviously, as I said before, they change the quality for each of the items. So you have pretty much one style in 3 different qualities. But that itself, I understand that they do it for the reason so more people can afford to buy it, because if they actually did tell me when I started working there, they educated me on this, that they have 3 different, not levels, but sort of sections, I guess, for 3 different targeted audience. And it's pretty much the younger audience that probably can't, it's usually a bit cheaper because probably they can't afford to buy something that's, in the range of 50 plus quid. But it comes with the cost of it being less of a quality, worse quality, not less quality, worse quality. But then again, I feel like the younger audience, the teenagers or people, I wouldn't say people in their early 20s, maybe people in their early 20s, don't really care about it, because they are more likely to just buy something that they love at the very moment. And then if it falls apart in 2 years, then I guess they wouldn't really mind. I think that's the general stigma. I'm not saying this is how it is for everyone, but even from my personal experience and from my personal observation, this is how it usually is, or this is how it is for more people than not. Then it's the middle class, which I would say middle class as in not middle class as in a working age or an economic wage, but I guess in a sense yes. But I think the middle class, I mean for people who are probably like me, who can and are happy to pay ever so slightly more for a bit of a higher quality, but they can't really afford to pay a ridiculous amount, if that makes sense. And this piece will probably last you a bit longer than from the previous category, from the first category that I mentioned, but they're not going to last you forever, I can tell you that straight up. And then there's a third one for people that can afford more expensive items, more expensive clothing. However, the thing is that the quality should be higher, but it's really not. There's not a whole lot of difference between the third category and the second category. There's a big difference, is a difference between the first category and the third category. But I would say the second one is probably the best for you to buy, because it doesn't really, what would I say? It's not exactly the price equals the quality at all, but it is probably the best you can find, or not the best you can find, but it's the better you can find. And the thing is, I'm talking about the specific store that I work in, or the specific brand that I work for. But I can imagine I know this is the same for, we can generally apply these 3 categories for the entirety of fast fashion. And, some shops or some brands don't divide into these 3 categories. They are one whole category, but the whole of fast fashion shops and stores and brands can be divided into these 3 categories. So I think it's pretty much up to you to physically go to stores, touch things and sort of decide on which one is what and where you kind of stand. But as I said, I'm sorry, I feel like this is probably a bit all over the place, but it's not scripted, as I'm just talking as I think. So I hope it will make some sort of sense. But as I said earlier, what did I say earlier? But as I said earlier, I can't really decide whether this is a fashion industry or society issue, because as I said, I see why the shops do it, but I also see why the industry does it. But I also see that this is the demand from the people, because that's another thing that I've realized, and it was a very eye-opening experience, and it's something that sort of creeped in on me quite quietly, and I didn't really notice it was creeping on me until a bit later when I looked back and I was like, actually, eureka moment. I think that every person that has serious issues with shopping, like shopaholics, but the ones that actually do have issues, is not like, oh my god, I love fashion, but you don't actually go and buy something every week. I feel like everyone who actually has an issue should go and work in retail for at least a month or for at least a short period of time, because you really get to talk to customers and you really get to see how obsessed we are with fashion and how obsessed we are with things that we don't need. And I know not everyone is into fashion, and I know a lot of people don't care, and I mean, power to you. But there's also a lot of people who don't care, who have problems with shopping just in general, but also a lot of people that don't know about fashion, isn't like, they don't care about the fashion designers, and they don't care about the depth. They don't care about fashion in depth. That's what I meant to say. But they do like going to shops, and they do like looking at clothing, and they do like buying random stuff. They do the thing where they see one thing and they buy it because it's cheap or it's cheaper. And this is something that you know about, and you probably know someone like this in your personal life if it's not you. And I'm not saying there's anything, well, there are wrong things with it, but it's not something that I want to sound like, oh my god, I'm judging these people now, because I mean, I definitely was one of them. Like I had this mentality before when I was younger. But the thing is that when you work in retail and you meet these people every day, and you see how they are in a way naive a bit, because you hear them saying that this piece of clothes is something that they can keep forever, and you're there knowing that it's going to fall apart in the most 2 years. It's a bit sad, and it really makes you question us as humans, because we are so hungry for items and for things in general. And I have seen customers being upset that this isn't in their size, which is fair enough. I mean, absolutely, you want something and you want it to be a size. Obviously you do. But it's like they ask you to request it from the stockroom, and they ask you to, they're upset, and they're not upset with you. I'm not, like, I always have really nice customers, actually. I have to say that working in retail is probably the best. You get the best customer service because people are actually happy to be in a fashion clothing store rather than being somewhere, I don't know, like being drunk in a pub or something like that. So that's not at all what I'm talking about. But it makes you realize how hungry people are for stuff that they most likely don't need. It's never a simple basic t-shirt that people are obsessed about. It's always something very specific, something very, I'd say just very specific, something that you can tell they probably don't necessarily need. And I understand that this is what obviously then fuels the fashion brands to, it's the demand that fuels the fashion brands to then create more clothes and create more very similar looking styles because they know it works. But then again, I'm also thinking, is it the fashion brands that are feeding us with so many options that we, as I said, don't need? We don't need 3 same skirts that, as I said, are essentially the same in 3 different categories of quality. We obviously, I understand that people, and I'm myself included, people can afford people can pay different prices for things, and I do understand that if something's cheaper, then obviously it has to be from it has to be of a lower quality. But the thing also is, and this is something we learned in school, and it's something we just learned in school, and that is that really vast majority of clothes are way too expensive for the cost that it cost them to make. And that includes paying people that made the garment fair amount money for the job that they did. So it's not always smart to spend ridiculous amount of money on fashion because it's not going to be higher quality. But this is something that I guess people have to educate themselves on in their own time if they wish to, or to just experience by walking to different stores and touching things and comparing the prices. But I just want to say this straight up, that just because you go to a fast fashion store and you buy something that's more expensive, it doesn't mean that it's going to last longer than something that's a little cheaper. So I'd say always go for the middle price range because that's probably the safest bet. And also to think about your relationship with shopping and whether you really want to buy something because you absolutely love it, but you only love it at this very moment because, I don't know, it's trendy, or because you at this moment love the color purple, for example, but it's not very likely that you're going to love it in even half a year time. But also, I think what is a good exercise to practice for everyone, or for those who aren't doing it, because I'm sure there's plenty of very sustainable people out there. I'm not one of them, unfortunately. But think about when there's something clothing-wise, I think you can actually apply this to anything, but I'm talking about fashion. If there's a piece of clothing that you really want and it's unavailable, think about whether you actually really want it that much, whether it really hurts you not having it, whether you really love it so much, it's really something that you need. Because then again, I think only buying things that you really need sort of takes away the fun of shopping. And I'm not saying you should, you should buy everything that you love. That's the whole point of this episode, after all. But you should buy things that you really need and that you really love, and that they will make you happy for, years to come. Because yes, you might not need another blue jumper, but if you really love blue jumpers and you just want to wear them all the time, then go and buy it. If you know that you're going to wear it multiple times a week, a month, let's say, then yeah, fair enough, you made the use. Because this is another thing that I believe people don't really realize about sustainability, because I have been talking about how we overproduce things and how we are very greedy when it comes to our consumer behavior. But I also think what people don't talk enough about is that sustainability isn't only about the sourcing of the materials and about where the clothes is being made and how many of it is being made, but also about how you shop. It's not about where you shop, it's about how you as a consumer shop. It's about, you can go to a fast fashion store. If you can't afford to go to another store, go to a fast fashion store and buy the white t-shirt from a fast fashion store. If you're being careful enough, yes, it's not gonna last you as long as a t-shirt for 3 times the price, probably, maybe, but at least you went and bought what you really needed, and you will actually use it, you will actually wear it often enough for it to be worth it, for it not to be a waste. And this is something that I also saw a lot, and I saw in myself, and I kind of got rid of it. And that is something that I kind of relates to the first point that I was making, and that is that when you really like something, you should try it on and then leave it for a bit and then come back to it if you really like it. Because a lot of people go to a store or go online and see something that's not even their style, and you can kind of tell, because I see these people, I see what they're wearing, and they come to something that's completely out of their probably everyday style, out of something that they seem to be enjoying clothing wise, and they just buy it because it's pretty on its own, but they will not be able to, they won't be able to incorporate it, put it together, place it in their wardrobe, just to be able to combine it with what they already have. So and this is something what I saw in myself, because as I said at the beginning of me started working there, I really wanted half of a store, but now that I've been there for quite a while, seeing all this stuff, I realized that, hey, I really like this, but I realistically have nothing to wear with it. I wouldn't probably wear it. And so this is why I believe that everyone who has shopping issues should go and work in retail and actually experience and see the reality of fashion, because the thing is, retail is at the end of the fashion industry, but it's the most, I guess, true and realist part of the fashion industry, because we can talk about sustainability, we can read analytics or analysis it all, we can read reports, we can dive deep into the causes and the issues and the sustainable plans and all that, and about anything in the fashion industry really. But then it's the really end, it's the retail that tells us about the customer behavior, about the brand itself. And I feel like people don't really people do talk about it, but people probably don't take the reality as serious as they should, because it seems to me that people are a big talk when it comes to sustainability, both the customers and the brands. But really, a brand can tell you how sustainable they are and how they plan to be sustainable. But yes, sourcing materials fairly and being more environmental friendly and cautious is great, but you're still making one piece of item essentially 3 times, and and call it 3 different, like, you're still making way too much than you need to, and you're still offering people way too much that they need. Then because you're offering them way more than they need, they will get it. And same with customers, right? So many people are all about sustainability and they keep talking, but then they go to a fast fashion store or any store in that matter and buy things that they don't really need to at all, or they don't even really like. It's just something that looks pretty. It's just something that they think looks pretty as it's hanging, but they don't really think about, oh, am I actually gonna wear it? And so that's why I think that working in retail is really eye-opening, because through all the greenwashing and through all the, I guess, sustainability talk that we see online, it can make you feel a bit better about your customer behaviors, but it can also open your eyes about your customer behaviors when you see how ridiculous it is sometimes for people being upset about, about something not being in their size, about this specific thing not being in this specific color or the specific cut, when you know that this is probably not something they really desperately need. And that's why I think working in retail is really eye-opening, because it can open your eyes to see how ridiculous your behavior might be, because when it comes to shopping, because you might be very obsessed with something that you don't practically have a reason to be obsessed with. Or it can also be very eye-opening in a sense of you seeing the actual amount, the masses of clothes that are being produced, that we as human beings have no way to consume. And we know that, but actually seeing it, actually touching the clothes every day, does really put it in a different perspective, and it really hits you. And that's why I believe that we should probably talk more about actual retail and the actual reality of how we shop and what we shop, and about what the reality of shopping is. Because, just telling people that, oh yeah, this is these statistics, this is what's happening, yes, people will know, but then at the end of the day, they're still very likely to go to shop, and even if they start thinking a bit more sustainably, it's probably not enough, and they might still think that it's not really their case because they don't go and shop every day, but they only go and shop every other month. But that's still a lot if you think about it. Anyway, that would be it from me today. I feel like this will be a lot of rambling and it will probably be very long. So thank you for listening this far. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I maybe gave you some sort of information on, maybe open your eyes a little bit, and I shall see you in the next episode.